have you done to do better with your engagement and support of fathers? I ask that you just use the raise hand function. And Dara and Virve, can you help me out with that? And then what would you like to do to engage and support fathers and father figures? This is what this work is all about, is doing a better job at serving the entire family by including dad. So do you have any volunteers who want to share a little bit about what you talked about? Armando, go ahead. I'll unmute you, I think.
Can you tell me how to raise your hand?
Okay, so one thing that I've done more of to keep fathers more engaged. Can you guys hear me, Kevin?
It's a little loud, actually. I think that's why it's muffled a little bit. Go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
so
right.
We have a fatherhood support group that a couple of my colleagues facilitate. During the COVID especially, I've been more proactive in getting fathers to that group, just making the information available to them. I know prior to COVID, we had decent numbers, and for some it works better during COVID, just reaching out on this virtual platform. So I'm sure that either Thomas or Robert can testify to the fact that sometimes since COVID, our numbers are up. Some weeks they're up because it's more accessible via Zoom. But just to round to answer your question, I think I've been making that fatherhood support group more visible and just talking about it more to every father that I come across, and making sure that during these times they're supported and they have a safe place where they can talk to other dads.
Thanks, Armando.
You're welcome.
Anybody else want to share? I don't see any hands raised.
Kelvin's actual hand is raised.
Oh,
no raise hand feature.
Thanks, Dara. Kelvin, go ahead. And then Aaron, we'll come to you next. Kelvin, you got to unmute yourself.
All right, bro, I got it, man. I got this. I'm a little more familiar with this Zoom process now. Greetings, everybody. And I just felt I needed to share a little bit about the work that we do. You know, I'm engaged with the juvenile justice impacted youth, and we also do some training and workshops in the community for service providers. And I'm actually a original member of the core group that started, Father's Core started in 2013. So yeah, we've done what we call Pathways of Fatherhood, where we incorporate the father-friendly principles into our trainings and our workshop with the youth that are incarcerated. We've also done what they call a boot camp for new dads. Our license and training came from Gary Thompson. So I think it's a very impactful setting to work with this particular idea of fatherhood. We actually talk to the young men about fatherhood because we feel like if a young man is having sex, it's time to talk about fatherhood. And also we encourage young men and men to have a conversation regarding their own fatherhood issues that they may have. You know, a lot of young men are walking around and they have what we call a father wound. And a lot of times they don't want to deal. So we try to encourage people to, you know, own their pain and whatever they're dealing with, and come to a new realization of how important fatherhood is. You know, I'm a father, I'm a grandfather, and I'm about to be a great-grandfather in February. So
nice.
Just thought I would share a little bit. You know, I really appreciate the Father's Core. Gary and Kevin have supported our program and our work tremendously. And I'm really glad that I'm a part of this. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelvin. Aaron, we're going to go to you, and then Marvin, you'll be our last one. Aaron, go ahead.
Right, can you hear me?
Yep.
Right, and so in our breakout session, what I spoke about and what was important for me was two things. One was, you know, I appreciate the focus on fatherhood, but as you mentioned, in the biggest barrier to father engagement is, in your report, was conflict with mothers. And I have personal experience with that. You know, and it's a difficult process going through the courts, child support, and you know, other agencies, and trying to get things resolved and actually participate and engage in those systems. But it's extremely difficult for, you know, your average Joe. And and so I think to alleviate some of that pressure on, you know, fathers and what they're doing, because it's traumatizing when you're engaging with a mother that's
think you
creating
stalled.
conflict. That's always applying this restriction where you know, people, where agencies can also engage with the mother and to get her to kind of maybe provide counseling for her, like there could be family counseling or something to help restrictive gateway behaviors and engage more with the father as well, because it seems to be a sort of bias in the system towards mothers, and it doesn't address those issues that mothers are creating for fathers when they're trying to engage with their son. And then the second thing is about, you know, going through this process, you know, trying to figure out the system and all of that is difficult. You know, it takes a lot of work and research to find the resources that you need to find the actually, because most fathers can't hire a lawyer.
Aaron, you keep going in and out. So there's something wrong with the connection, but I got most of it. I think we got most of it. I just want to say that the Fathers Corps is definitely very aware of the complicated co-parenting relationships that fathers and mothers are experiencing, and some of our work is focused on addressing some of those issues. For sure, we are definitely working very, very closely with Alameda County Child Support as well. They are doing an amazing job of just trying to think about ways that they can be more father-friendly as well, because I know a lot of the dads that we work with have some experiences with that system. And then we've been trying to engage the family court system for a long time at this point. And we are still doing our work to do that. So I appreciate those comments, and we are definitely extremely, extremely aware of the issues that exist and that our fathers are going through. And we're trying to put programs in place to support dads with navigating those systems and navigating those relationships, but also putting programs in place to help moms navigate those relationships as well, because this stuff is complicated. And then our systems a lot of times perpetuate the negative co-parenting relationships that exist. So I appreciate those comments, and we are definitely working on those. So we're gonna go to Marvin, and Marvin, I'm gonna ask you to keep it to about 30 seconds, and then we're gonna go to James, and the same thing, I'm gonna ask you to keep your comments to about 30 seconds because we got a lot to cover today. I'm sorry to cut you guys short. So Marvin, if you can go ahead and unmute yourself, and then we'll go to James after that.
Okay. Yeah, I was I was in a room with someone named Tracy that works with child support services. And the first thing that came to mind was the bias against dads. And I personally was recently one of those dads, so I felt the pain. The services and the courts knowing what's really going on, because dads are, I was one of those dads actually that was doing everything for my family, even though we co-parent, live in different homes. And I was telling I had to give this ridiculous amount of money a month for child support. And, you know, I don't do the receipt thing, but now I will if it ever comes up again. You know, and just encouraging dads not to give up regardless of whatever the situation is. That's basically, and you guys went over everything, and that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Marvin. Good to see you.
Likewise.
James, we're going to go to you. And just like Marvin, if you could just keep it to about 30 seconds.
No problem. Thank you, Kevin. And thanks for having me. Good afternoon, everybody. And greetings from San Mateo County across the bay. So it's great to be here. Over the last 20 years, I've been providing services over in San Mateo County to men, young adults, and adolescent males. And as I've walked through my journey of fatherhood, my oldest will be 8 years old tomorrow. I wanted to be able to bring the services to our county because through that time that I've been working, there hasn't been a lot of support. There hasn't been a lot of focus for men who want to be a part of their kids' life. And that's the thing, to change that narrative, because most men I know, even the guys that I worked in the field of recovery who've been incarcerated, have a desire to be in their kids' lives, and they just need a chance and an opportunity. I work for an organization called HIP Housing, self-sufficiency program, where we help head of households have affordable places to live while they pursue their education and vocational services, mental health, and all of those type of things. In the 40 years of existence of that organization, I'm the first male to be hired on the social service side. So I knew I needed to do something for the dads of the program. I've been raised by women all my life. I love women, so that's not a thing, but there's something about giving the guys an opportunity, and I wanted to do that. So I started a program 7 years ago, just slowly building, finally got some funding, and it's just a blessing to be able to do it. I'm glad to be able to be a part of this, to learn more, and really want to get back to our county because they have a collaborative as well. It's kind of lost some momentum, and I want to infuse some energy in that. So I'm looking for some ideas, some great people on the board here to pick brains. And again, thank you for having me.
Thanks, James, and welcome, James. I believe we have a few folks from the San Mateo area that are on the call as well. So if you guys can reach out to each other and that have been part of the Father's Corps for the past few years, you can reach out to each other on the chat. Please do so.
Thank you.
But absolutely, I appreciate those comments, and I really just want to highlight what you said about the narrative. And what I've just started saying actually, because I used to say change the narrative as well, but I'd say it's almost, let's highlight the true narrative, because we know the narrative, is that dads care, dads are involved, dads are engaged, and the ones that aren't want to be. But the problem is people don't know that narrative. So let's highlight the true narrative of fatherhood. But I appreciate those comments. Thank you everybody for sharing. And we're gonna move on. Robert, I'm gonna have to get to you in just a second, okay? These are some strategies for ensuring that you have father-friendly environments. A couple of things: provide 2 chairs for meetings in waiting rooms or whatnot. Provide reading materials that address the needs of fathers. These are just very simple, practical things that you can do to show that you want dad to be involved. Make eye contact and speak to both parents. And doing this work over the past several years, we talk to dads all the time when they go to schools, doctor's offices, or any other type of social support, and they go with mom, that the provider doesn't even look at them or make eye contact. So I strongly encourage folks to coach your staff on making eye contact and speaking to both parents. Portray positive images of fathers in waiting areas and common spaces, and also in your collateral materials. To support organizations with doing that, we have the Diversity of Fatherhood Photo Bank, which has over 800 photos of local dads just being dads. You can log on, let us know how you're going to use them, give us your name, your organization, and you'll get a PIN number within 1 to 3 business days, and you'll have access to over 800 images that you can download and use in your collateral materials and even hang in your spaces. This is an important one. We talked about bias. Bias has come up already a couple of times, but remain neutral as a provider. You are on the child's side, not mom's or dad's. So remain neutral. That's a key one. And then also reflect and acknowledge the baggage and or bias that you may bring as a provider. We all have very real and legitimate life experiences that shape the way that we move through this world. Let's make sure that those experiences don't negatively impact how you're engaging families and or fathers. Assume that fathers are involved and want information about their child. I think in a lot of cases, in a lot of cases, we assume the opposite, that dads are not involved and don't want information. Coach your staff on greeting and communicating with fathers and father figures. Send them to the Father's Core trainings. You can invite us and we can provide a father-friendly principles implementation trainings at your organizations as well. Provide written communication and or information to both parents. Develop reliable sources of referrals for fathers. So that you may not be able to offer a particular service that dad needs, but you have relationships with other organizations that can. Adopt and implement the father-friendly principles, and then offer father-specific programming. What we've seen over the past several years in doing this work, there's lots of stuff out there for parents, but in a lot of cases, the folks who show up for parent programs are moms. So we found that if your programming is father-specific, then dads are more apt to show up and talk to other dads. And we got another video for you to see. This is just something that kind of gives a brief overview of the Father's Core itself.
To me, the Father's Core is a wonderful organization that's doing effective and needed work.
To me, the Father's Core is... To me, the Father's Core is collaborative. Systems change.
A systems change initiative. To me,
the Father's Core...
The Father Core is
a capacity building effort and change effort.
important and needed.
Makes me a better person, provider. To me, the Father's Core is a community event. To me, the Father Core is revolutionary. To me, the Father's Core is a movement.
To me, the Father's Core is all about lifting up fathers and father figures so that they can be the best parents that they possibly can be.
The Father's Core is my passion. We want to do our best to support families. And that's what this work is about. Robert, before we go to the polls, Robert, I believe you had a question or a comment. Is there something you wanted to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to actually respond to a couple of slides ago. A Better Way did go after some of the money that the probation department, the $250,000, we actually secured some of that money for our fathers. And in the Fatherhood Circle, which is our group at A Better Way, over Zoom, the numbers have increased over Zoom, just like this meeting, right? Like, okay, it's a lot easier for parents to get out and go to that meeting without physically leaving the house. And let's face it, some days we can't even leave the house. They're telling us not to leave the house, right? And I think Zoom's picked up our numbers. And even today, me and Thomas Harris, who are co-facilitators of that, we're working with fathers to get their supports met. Whatever those supports, really basic needs stuff, food and clothing, and housing stuff. So there's money out there for programs to get. And that's something that A Better Way has been doing to move forward our fatherhood support, which we've never had any funding to offer any type of support in a monetary way until now.
Great. That's great feedback. And I'm glad that probation moved forward with getting that money out the door. So that's exciting to hear. Thanks for sharing, Robert.
No problem.
And I second that. I mean, just like you said, our numbers have increased as well with attendance since we've gone to a virtual platform. So while we're not able to serve lunch virtually like we normally do at our in-person meetings, it's easier for people to get to. So great points. Make sure we don't have any more questions. Okay. Virve, if you can go ahead. We want to find out. This is a quick poll. I think it's only 2 questions. We just want to find out who's in the room. And Virve, if you can go ahead and launch the poll.
Okay, will do.
So we can take a few minutes to just respond to the poll's questions.
Yes. There you go.
And if you scroll down, you can get to the second question. So there are 2 questions. Like we've got
31 responses so far, 32.
Yeah. 71% of you serve fathers, 66% serve mothers, 63% serve children, 20% don't provide direct services. We got 3 members here who have been here from the beginning. All right, we can go ahead and end it. Virve, thank you guys for sharing that information with us. Gives us a good idea of who's in the room today. Let's share the results.
There you go.
Perfect, thank you. So you guys can see how long people have been part of the Father's Corps. Lots of new people, that's great. Okay, thanks, Virve. And we're gonna move on. So now we're gonna talk about the programming that we have available for 2021, the capacity building opportunities that we have. And I'll go into detail about each one of these. First is the Father Friendly Provider Network. You'll also see that listed as FFPN. Our Dad Discussions, which we launched in April as a result of the shelter-in-place order. We wanted to provide a place where dads can come together virtually. And so that is us providing direct service to dads. I encourage you to share the information with dads so that they can participate as well. And then the Fatherhood Partnership. Several of you have been part of the Fatherhood Partnership. We've got some changes that we're adding. And Robert, it'll help address some of those issues around funding. Not a lot of money, but I'll share a little bit with you. So the Father Friendly Provider Network, or FFPN, the workshops and trainings are on topics relevant to understanding and supporting the needs of fathers. Some of the issues that were talked about already, as far as acknowledging your bias, acknowledging the father wound and how it impacts how you engage and support families, child support 101, custody 101. So these are all issues that we see as important to understand if you're working with families. It builds the capacity of participants to effectively engage and support fathers and father figures. And this is new this year. This year, one of our trainings we're going to use as a work group to develop healthy relationship principles. It's already come up, and if you do work with fathers, it probably comes up on a daily basis. Just the co-parenting issues and complicated relationships that our fathers and families are going through. So, and then also implementing the father-friendly principles at your home agency. We really want to encourage all of you to utilize the tools that we have developed, the organizational assessment tool and the father-friendly principles implementation tools. All are tied directly to the father-friendly principles, and will support your organization with being more intentional with your engagement and support of fathers and father figures. This is our training calendar for 2021. I'm not going to read through each of them, but you'll see that these trainings are, again, laser focused on supporting providers with becoming more effective with their engagement and support of fathers and father figures. And then here's the one in March, developing healthy relationship principles and common languages and common language. This is important, and what we're looking to do is provide principles that help guide our providers when they engage with families and mothers and fathers. Because a lot of times what happens is some of our providers, they contribute to being a wedge between parents instead of a bridge between parents. So we want to make sure that we are talking, using the same language when we talk about the importance of healthy, functional co-parenting relationships. We believe that, kids can get over divorce. It's those toxic relationships that impact kids for the rest of their lives. And we don't want, as providers, we don't want to contribute to that at all. And so to support that, we want to develop, just like we have father-friendly principles, we want to develop healthy relationship principles. And we're going to lean on you guys who are working with families to help us develop those principles and common language. So the March training is a big one, and we may have to extend that so that it's more than just 2 hours, but we'll let you know ahead of time. But that's going to be a working meeting where we're actually asking you to do some work. Dad Discussions, like I mentioned earlier, we launched in April. We had our first session that was April, May, June. And then we relaunched on July 30th just because it was so very well received. Our next Dad Discussions is Thursday, September 24th. And if you have registered for this training, we will be sure to send the invitation to you so that you can be a part of that as well. These are conversations with fathers about topics that are important to fathers. As you can see, our next one on the 24th is Breaking the Cycle, and that's going to be focused on breaking the cycle of fatherlessness and also toxic co-parenting relationships. We feel like it's become normal for parents to not get along, and we want to do the opposite. We want to normalize parents actually getting along. So that's the focus of the next Dad Discussions. And Dara or Virve, if we have any questions popping up, please feel free to jump in and I can respond to those. This provides a space for fathers to receive information and talk to other fathers about the joys and challenges of fatherhood. And it also provides providers, it'll provide you guys an opportunity to see what virtual fathers groups actually look like. And so you can build your muscle around possibly offering virtual fathers groups. Here's the one pager that we just put together to highlight the first Dad Discussion series. So I'm not going to read through all of this, but if you guys just take a look, you can see the topics and how participants felt. And as you can see from the numbers, they are quite well attended.
We have a question from Brooke, and it's about, is it for Dad Discussions, Brooke, if women aren't welcome to Dad Discussions? The answer is yes.
Answer is yes. We encourage all fathers, father figures, mentors, and allies. The way it's set up is we bring on a content expert or a panel of content experts. We have about a 20-minute, 25-minute overview of the content, and then we go into breakout rooms so the dads can talk to each other about what they just heard or learned, and then we leave our female allies in the main room so that you guys can talk amongst each other about the same topic. So yes, you are more than welcome. We encourage you to attend. It kind of gives you a peek behind the curtain of what dads are thinking.
Thank you.
Thanks for the question. And here's another video that highlights dad discussions. Darren, I hope you're watching.
The COVID-19 crisis has brought us together in some ways that we weren't anticipating.
This dad discussions is really about providing a place for dads to come together.
As fathers, fatherhood is the greatest hood that you claim. It's amazing listening to the men speak.
You can kind of see that there's a lot of similarities that we all share.
What's the best advice your dad ever gave you?
To always believe in myself and do the best with what you have. Don't be always living.
My dad does this thing where the moment that he had to go, he would always call us like every single day.
It kind of just taught me that, no matter what's going on in life, to always take a breather.
We build, we bond, we develop brotherhood.
Looking at how we can better co-parent during these times and finding out ways to strengthen those relationships.
The social unrest has been more of a concern than the pandemic.
Just during this time, appreciating what our children are going through.
We all have lots in common, and I think this is a great forum for us to share.
Okay, so that was our dad discussions. Our next one, like I said, is scheduled for next Thursday.
I just posted the link on the group chat for registration.
Thank you, Virve. So the link for registration is in the chat. So feel free to register. And we will also send that out in an email, probably Monday, just so it's at the top of your email when you come into work. So now we're moving on to the Fatherhood Partnership. Now this is the one that has the most significant changes and some opportunity. So the Fatherhood Partnership is laser focused on building the capacity of participating agencies to offer father-specific virtual parenting education and support groups. So again, laser focused on creating services, father-specific services for dads. We require 2 to 3 staff to participate. The reason for that is we want the facilitator, the person who's actually going to be facilitating the fathers groups, to participate. And just so you know, for these organizations who you may not have men on your staff who could facilitate this group, because we think it's very important that you have a male facilitate or at least co-facilitate, just because in our experience that gets the best results. But we also want to make sure that their supervisors are present and participate as well, so that the information is not lost if one of the staff person leaves. So that's one thing. Requires participating agencies to launch groups by January. So we want these groups to start by the end of January at the latest, if possible. And then also we're offering this year, which is new, we're offering $4,500, $4,500 mini grants to 6 to 10 agencies. We will be asking you to sign MOUs. Interested agencies will be asked to complete a short application. It's not a lot of money, so we're not going to make you put together some big, long application, but there is information. Maya, I need you to be quiet, baby. Sorry. Working from home. Like I said, we will be asking folks to complete a short application. It's not a lot of money, so it's not going to be very long, but there is information that we will need from you. So that is new. We have not offered grants for this in the past. We think it's important to do that, and we found some money in the budget so that we can do it. We will be aiming to attract folks who have already participated in the Fatherhood Partnership. We want to aim at organizations. Oh, and by the way, it is only for Alameda County. So if you're outside the county, you can still participate in the Fatherhood Partnership, but we can't provide any funding to you because it is restricted to Alameda County, but you are more than welcome to still participate. And that's it as far as the partnership. We are developing the application. We will post it and make it available to you as soon as it is ready. It'll be sometime around mid-October. Hopefully we'll be getting the application out. We'll ask that you get it back to us sometime in very, very early November. And then so we can get this money out to you, hopefully before the end of the year, so that you can launch your groups in January. The funds can be used for a number of different things. This is not an exhaustive list that I'm about to provide, but it can be used to provide stipends to fathers. It can be used to provide a stipend to a facilitator. Oh, and speaking of facilitators, for those of you who don't have male staff to facilitate, we've got over 100 men that have been part of the Fathers Corps. And so if you need a facilitator, we can find one for you through the Fathers Corps. We have very skilled guys who have been going through this training for many years at this point. So we can find a male facilitator to get to you. But like I said, stipends, male funding for facilitators, incentives. You can provide incentives to the dads in addition to the stipends. So there are a variety of ways that you can use to, you can also use it to bring in content experts. So those are just a few ways that you can utilize that for $4,500. Any questions on that? No questions. Okay, great. And this is our training calendar for the Fatherhood Partnership. As you can see, all of these trainings are from 11 to 1. And this is our training calendar. And now we have another video so you can hear from some actual Fatherhood Partnership participants. The Fatherhood Partnership Program is a program that will help you as an agency engage and support the needs of fathers.
If we want strong families, and we want strong kids, and we want strong communities, and we want more positive outcomes, I think it's really imperative that we engage the whole family. And the whole family means engaging dads. It means engaging uncles. It means engaging men who mentor younger kids.
In doing the Fathers Corps work for the past 6 years, what we found is there are not a lot of services out there that are father specific, that are built and designed very intentionally to serve dads. And this Fatherhood Partnership, that was the goal, to build the capacity of participating agencies to offer father specific parent education and support groups.
We initially never had dads. We have like one dad join the program out of like 40, 50 moms. And it wasn't until we came here that I started learning different tactics or reasons of why fathers don't come out or why they don't feel like they belong in these spaces.
There's just all these additional layers to how hard it is to be a dad. I think learning more about that was really helpful for me in just being a better ally, better informed, so that in my role, I can just be a better advocate.
The Fatherhood Partnership is structured to provide monthly trainings over a 9-month period. We have content experts who come in and really provide in-depth training on a variety of topics. One of our most impactful topics this year was the fatherhood wound. And that training really gave providers an opportunity to reflect on their relationships with their fathers and how that impacts their work.
The father wound is that wound that is left for someone that did not have access to their father in their life. And it's left a wound for that piece of not knowing who you really are.
Any parent wants to just be a good parent and have happy, healthy children. In that
What's
training,
more that can help you?
went deep on just how hard that is.
Agencies are here because they are grappling with what they would like to do, is a goal that they have, and they're all coming together to think together how we can do this and how we can do it well.
Everyone should participate at all levels of management.
If you're really concerned about growing families here in Alameda County, you have to have a father component.
The self-assessment would really highlight the gaps of things that are missing at an agency and how we can better provide service and be more intentional
I got to make these connections and network with other agencies who were doing the work, and so I didn't feel alone.
Support them in every way that we can. We walk with them through it. We understand that it's not as simple as serving a room and passing out a flyer.
There's not enough resources and programs for fathers. If we can give fathers more support, that's going to help more children.
I'm passionate about this work because I really want to support dads to be the dads that they want to be, because I have yet to meet a dad, whether he's involved or not, that does not want to be involved. So we want to support the dads who are involved and support the dads with getting involved who want to be involved. For more information about the Fatherhood Partnership or to register for the Fatherhood Partnership, please visit our website. So that is our Fatherhood Partnership. So you've learned about the 3 capacity building opportunities that we have: the Father Friendly Provider Network, Dad Discussions, that is for fathers themselves, and also providers. Providers are more than welcome to be a part of that as well. And then the Fatherhood Partnership, where there's actually a little bit of funding that will be available to 6 to 10 organizations. At this point, I just want to open up the floor for questions before we move on. Any questions about what you've heard as far as the different program components that we have available? No? All right. Then we'll move on.
I got a question, Kevin. Sorry.
Abdi, thanks for saving me, brother.
Thank you. Thank you. About the mini grants. So I really like that idea, because when we started our Cafe Dad, we didn't have any financial backing, and we were just kind of winging it as you know. So I'm wondering, what do you envision for those grants, and you know, what kind of steps can we take to apply as a fathers group who's been active for about a couple of years?
Yeah, we are definitely, number one, you will get extra points however we develop this application if you have already been part of the partnership, because you guys have made that commitment towards offering these fathers groups without any funding. And so now that we've been able to identify some funding that is available, we will definitely be leaning towards our former Fatherhood Partnership participants. The funding is dependent on full participation, meaning that you make it to the majority of the trainings. Depends on launching your groups. If you get funding, then it is required that you actually launch these virtual fatherhood groups, and then participating in the evaluation activities, both from the providers. We're going to ask for, and it's not going to be extensive. Listen, we understand it's $4,500. We're not giving you a lot of money, but there will be some electronic surveys that we ask providers to respond to. And there will also be surveys that we're going to ask providers to get the dads who are participating in your groups to respond to as well. Again, nothing extensive as far as we don't expect, it's not going to be a very heavy lift other than just fully participating in the Fatherhood Partnership, which you guys have already done, but we will ask you to continue to participate again this year. We think it is very important for organizations who have already launched groups and for organizations who have not, to be in the same room together so they can learn from each other. You can share what has worked with you with the organizations who are looking to launch. With that said, for folks who were not a part of the partnership over the past few years, that does not mean that you are not eligible. We're just saying that we will be providing some extra points to applicants who have been part of it. So there will be new and old Fatherhood Partnership participants. I know that was a very long-winded answer to your question, but thank you for asking the question.
Absolutely. And just a quick follow-up. So that will be in January, right?
We're asking folks to launch their groups by January. We're trying to get the application developed and out by mid-October, no later than the end of October. And again, it's not going to be, it may be 2 to 3 pages at most as far as the application is concerned. Again, we understand it's $4,500. We don't want to give you $45,000 application for $4,500. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
No problem. Any other, Dara, I didn't ask you, is there anything that you want to add? You guys saw Dara in the video. Dara is our consultant that we use that supports the Fatherhood Partnership and has been part of this journey since the first year. So Dara, is there anything that you want to add or comment on?
No, I'm just glad to see so many people on the call. I'm glad to see so many new faces on the call, and I just look forward to the opportunity that's being presented right now. Thanks, Kevin.
Thanks, Dara. Any other questions before we move on? No? Okay, let's see what's next. Get to the polls. We got another poll that we're asking you to complete. Again, it's very short, and we're trying to understand what it is that you will be doing after learning about all this different information. So, Virve, if you can go ahead and launch that poll.
Will do. 1 second, let's see. I'm trying to stop share. There we go. You can go ahead and end it. Let's get 42 responses.
Yep, that's perfect. Thank you. So really quick, we got a few people who said that they don't understand the difference between the Father Friendly Provider Network, Dad Discussions, and the Fatherhood Partnership. I know that it's a lot of father language being thrown around. So I just want to be clear. First of all, the Father Friendly Provider Network, that is focused on, let's just go back to the slide. How about that? That's focused on building the capacity of providers just to address issues specific to fatherhood, to hopefully make it so that you are a more informed provider so that you can be more effective with your engagement and support of fathers. So it's just really training on topics that are relevant to fathers, builds your capacity to effectively engage and support fathers. And that's really the focus of the the Father Friendly Provider Network. Okay, that's the FFPN, Father Friendly Provider Network. Dad Discussions is a virtual meeting that is geared towards engaging fathers themselves. Everyone is welcome to be part of it, but it's really focused on engaging fathers, and it's direct service to fathers. The Father's Core has usually been focused, not usually, has been focused on in the past, capacity building for providers. Dad Discussions is really about capacity building for dads and talking to dads themselves about topics that are relevant to them and giving them a space where they can talk to each other about the joys and challenges of fatherhood. So Dad Discussions is focused on supporting dads themselves. Father Friendly Provider Network is focused on supporting providers to better serve dads. And then the Fatherhood Partnership is focused on building the capacity of organizations to offer father-specific virtual parenting, education, and support groups. Okay, so this is about really, it's about creating and enhancing father-specific services at organizations so that we have a place to send our dads for support when we work with families. All right. It's one thing to work with families and say, I'd like to support you, but then you have nowhere really to send them for services. The Fatherhood Partnership is aimed at creating those services. I hope that brings some clarity to that. Dara, is there anything you would add? No? Okay. Any other questions? Comments? We're going to go to one more breakout session. And for this one, Virve, we want to go 3 to a room. And we want you to respond to these questions. How do you plan to engage with the Father's Corps over this next year? And then also, what do you want to get out of your participation in the Father's Corps this year? So 2 questions. And Virve, once we separate them in the room, can we please just post those questions in a little message at the top so they have them? Number 1 is, how do you plan to engage with the Father's Corps given the Father Friendly Provider Network, Dad Discussions, and Fatherhood Partnership? So how do you plan to engage and why, if you want to say why you want to engage that way? And then also, what do you want to get out of participating in the Father's Corps this year? All right.
Okay.
Are you here?
Okay. We're opening all our rooms again.
Thank you. So if you can please remember to click the join button. Just really quick, can I get 1 or 2 or 3 people to share what you guys talked about in your breakout rooms? How are you going to engage with the Father's Corps this year? And what do you hope to get out of your participation in the Father's Corps? Uh-oh. 1 or 2, 3 volunteers. Don't all raise your hands at once. Rachel Brown, please.
Hi, it's Rochelle. I go by Rocky. Yeah.
Thanks for joining us.
I'm sorry?
I said, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having this. I was in sessions with males, which was really, really good to get the male perspective. I learned from this recent one that it is important to let the father know you are important. We say that, but we need to take a moment to really make them feel it. You are important. You know, you have a difficult relationship with the mom, or you may have divorced the mom, but you didn't divorce the child. And fathers still want to be involved with the dads, with the children's life as a dad, as a father. And it is so important. And it was so cool to hear those 2 men that I was with say that, and they put it into words that I understood, and I'm carrying that forward. You know, when we are immediately, when we meet the families, the point of intake is basically with the mother. And if the mother is like in a bad relationship with the dad, we will have a hard time getting information so that we can create that bond with the father. So that just shows me the importance of, at intake, making the mother feel comfortable enough to allow this information. And then letting them know, do you have full custody? Because the dad does have legal rights to be a part of this child's life. An example is if the dad comes and finds out, oh, my child is at this school here, he can come and visit. You cannot stop the dad. So to let dads know that you have legal rights, responsibilities, that's a good thing. And that's something that we need to emphasize. And we do try to have fatherhood sessions in our program. Yeah. They're not well attended, but we do still put them out there. So yeah. I'm thankful for this information.
Thanks, Rocky. Yeah, it is important to just raise up how critical fathers are to the optimal development of their children, and we need to raise that up to both moms and dads.
And dads, yes.
It's very critical that moms don't prevent dads from being a part of their kids' lives, and it's important for dads to fight to be part of their kids' lives. Thanks for those comments, Rocky. We got time for one more. Aaron, I'm
Thank you, Rocky.
Aaron, you raised your hand. Go ahead.
Hi, Mr. Ricky.
Thank you. Yeah, I was just sharing with my group that my experience with trying to become a better father and just basically a better person, period, knowing some of the disadvantages that I was, some of the barriers that I was experiencing. It was difficult finding the resources that could help because there's this resource and that resources, and kind of putting a finger on what's the best resource that might be able to help me is difficult because you first have to find them and so forth. And so I'm working on a website that has all of, it's a very comprehensive list of resources available supporting not just fathers, but boys and men of color that kind of have, that fill in the gaps along the continuum of care. Because I think it's important that everything in an individual's life is addressed and taken, and kind of taken care of. And so accessing resources along the continuum of care, I think, is important. So I'm working on a website like that to not only help fathers, but boys and men of color in general.
Thanks, Aaron. That's important. Being able to easily find out what services are available is very important. I appreciate those comments, and I appreciate you putting in the work to make that website happen. Thank you. Otis, not Otis, I'm sorry. Kelvin, you're gonna be our last comment today. You can go ahead. Keep it to about 30 to 45 seconds, please, sir, because we are running out of time.
I think I can do that. So our last breakout group was very engaging. I want to give props to Armando DePina for sharing his heart with the group. And I'm sure he doesn't mind me sharing it at this level as well. He had an estranged relationship with his son for 20 years. And based on his relationships with the Father Corps, he was able to connect with a counselor and work out the relationship with his son. So, it was really good to see a man like Armando, who's, in my opinion, a very masculine presence. He's a very strong guy, but he also displayed the emotion that took place when he was reunited with his son and how he hugged his son, and he went to his son's graduation. So, cheers to Armando for, stepping out of his comfort zone and having the courage to seek out his son and reestablish a relationship with his son. I just wanted to share that. It was really powerful. I'm emotional right now about it. It was just a really good thing to see based on the relationships that have been established through this work with Father's Corps. Outstanding job, Kevin, Dara, all the people behind the scenes, Virve, I'm not sure if I pronounced your name properly, but that's testimony to this work. That's deep, deep testimony to this work of man reuniting with his son. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Pop.
Thanks for sharing, Armando. Pretty good commercial for the program, huh? So we are out of time. Virve, if you can please post the link to the evaluation. Thank you guys for spending your Friday late morning, early afternoon with us. Just to be clear, for the evaluation survey, at the end of that evaluation, there's a question that asks if you would like us to mail you a 2020-21 Father's Corps calendar. We are going to ask for your name and address. So if you please complete that survey, we can get it's actually a 20-month calendar. It's the best one that we've done so far. It's a beautiful piece of art. So please take a few minutes to complete the survey and share your mailing address, and we can get one of those in the mail to you hopefully next week. Any final thoughts, Dara? Comments? No. Again, thank you all for spending your Friday with us. Enjoy the weekend. Stay safe. Stay healthy. And I'm looking forward to Father's Core 2020-21. That doesn't even sound right. 2020.
Thank you, Kevin.